And my guest this afternoon, or right now, is Mike Shoesmith. And Mike, so tell us about Neil deGrasse Tyson and who he is. We were talking about that before we went to the break, and also how he's connected, how he's involved with NASA.
Yeah, well, he was brought on the Huffington Post there to rebuke Joel Osteen and to essentially give his perspective, which essentially is there's no room for God or religion in the classrooms, right? And yet, his he's heavily involved in NASA and what NASA's doing over there, which is less and less, right?
Right.
I mean, there's an awesome picture on the internet of when Barack Obama shuts down the space shuttle program. There's a picture online of him sitting in the driver's seat of the space shuttle with the wheels off the space shuttle, saying, "Wheels down, it's over."
Yeah,
that's an awesome picture. Everybody should look that up.
Well, but NASA's supposed to be used to reach out to the Muslims right now, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a Muslim outreach.
Muslim outreach program. Yeah,
now.
It's a mission.
Right. Yeah.
It's a missionary.
It's the Bureau of Muslim Outreach.
Yeah.
Now we can't even hitch a ride with the Russians anymore because that's all over. So.
Yeah, right.
And we've been banned from the International Space Station. So really, essentially,
this guy's a lawless destroyer, isn't he? I mean, it's just everything he touches.
That name's been floated around a lot lately too, right? I mean, we could get into that too.
Are those words in the Bible? Anyway, go ahead.
I think Brandon might be getting into that later, but yeah. Now, the reason his involvement in NASA is so important is because of a man who was around when NASA was founded. That guy's name is Wernher von Braun.
Yes.
You've probably heard of Wernher von Braun.
I have.
Right?
He's one of my favorites. I have heard of him. Yes.
Yeah, he worked on the United States Army Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile, the IRBM program, before his group was assimilated by NASA, so he predates NASA even.
Right.
He worked for the Germans in World War II building rockets, and then when the war was over, he said, look, I want to be an American. I want to help you guys out because I'm not really a Nazi. I don't believe any of that stuff.
Right.
And so he came on board, and he helped. And under NASA, he served as director of the newly formed Marshall Space Flight Center, and as the chief architect of the Saturn V launch vehicle.
Right.
Many of our ppsimmons fans will remember that name. It was the super booster that propelled the Apollo spacecraft to the moon.
Wow.
According to one NASA source, now this is amazing, according to NASA, he is, quote, without doubt, the greatest rocket scientist in history.
Yeah.
That is NASA's take on this guy.
Well, he's the father of modern rocket technology, isn't he?
In fact, he is, and his crowning achievement was to lead the development of the Saturn V booster rocket that helped land the first man on the moon. In 1975, he received the National Medal of Science. Well, what does Wernher von Braun, somebody who actually contributed to the world but with his scientific credentials, what does he say about the involvement of God and Christianity and religious study in the science classroom? Yeah. Carl, what do you think he has to say about it?
I know what he says, but you go ahead.
Here's a couple of quotes from him. Okay, this is what he said. He says, "For me, the idea of a creation is not conceivable. It's not even conceivable without invoking the necessity.
Yeah, I like that word you made up. Yeah, the necessity. I'm going to remember that. Without invoking the necessity of.
Don't I sound intelligent? The necessity of design.
Right.
One cannot be exposed to the law and order of the universe without concluding that there must be design and a purpose behind it all. In this age of space flight, when we use the modern tools of science to advance into new regions of human activity, listen to this now, the Bible, this grandiose, stirring history of the gradual revelation and unfolding of the moral law, remains in every way an up-to-date book. Think about who we're talking about here.
Yeah, the father of modern rocket science and who put us on the moon. That's who. Yeah.
The Bible is the revelation and unfolding of the moral law, remains in every way an up-to-date book. Our knowledge and use of the laws of nature that enable us to fly to the moon also enable us to destroy our home planet with the atom bomb. Science itself does not address the question whether we should use the power at our disposal for good or evil. I'll close with this. The guidelines of what we ought to do are furnished in the moral law of God. It is no longer enough that we pray that God may be with us on our side. we must learn again that we may be on God's side.
That's right. That's right. I love the guy. I mean, the guy really did or does love the Lord, and he has contributed to the scientific community, contributed to the world. On the other hand, Neil deGrasse Tyson, let me see now. What has he invented? Oh, nothing. What has he done? Nothing. Where have we gone in the world because of him? Nothing. All he does is sit around in his little ivory tower and espouse his garbage and his agenda.
He has contributed to the degradation of society, just as Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, Denton, all these guys. But I'm going to close with this quote from the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian, now people might say, well, that scientist, he died decades ago. Where's he at? I mean, that's all gone. Well, this is the Smithsonian's take on the Bible. The Bible, in particular the historical books of the Old Testament, this is the Smithsonian, people. They say are as accurate historical documents as any that we have from antiquity, and are in fact more accurate than any Egyptian, Mesopotamian, or Greek histories.
Thank you.
That is the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
We can rely on the Bible, and at the end of the day, all these people, they're going to climb up the mountain of knowledge, and they're going to thrust themselves upon the summit eventually as knowledge increases, and they're just going to be staring in the eyes of a preacher holding onto a Bible saying, we've been waiting for you all along.
Yeah, unless they run into me, and I'm going to be holding the Bible looking at them saying, I told you so.
I told you so.
I told you so.
Well, perhaps that might be the best way to end it.
Hey, listen, you've got 15 seconds. Tell people where they can find you.
For more on this, visit our Facebook page, ppsimmons, YouTube, ppsimmons, everywhere there's an internet connection. Email me, ppsimmons@live.com. I love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you, Mike. God bless you.